Well, the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Oneonta, taking place here in the Brenner Building at City Hall. Thank you all so much for attending. This is February 6th, 2024, and we've got just about 6:02 per the clock on the wall. And we'll call the meeting to order. And Carrie, if you call the roll.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Walsh-Russo. Here. Councilmember McHugh. Here. Councilmember LaPari-Shoe. Councilmember Carson.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Councilmember Woodman.
Here.
Councilmember Pelton. Here.
All right. I'd like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. And we have a public hearing regarding an ordinance establishing Chapter 280 of the City of Oneonta Municipal Code entitled Unnecessary Alarm, and I wonder if there's anyone here to speak on that. Doesn't appear that there is, so with that, we will close that public hearing. And at this point, I'll open the floor to the petitioners, and the same as has been the case now, moving forward these last few weeks, and as we move forward into 2024, if you would just give us your name, your address, and if we can hold this to about 3 minutes or so, that'd be great.
Okay. My name is Brian Shaughnessy from 6 North Belmont Circle. I just wrote a letter to the council and to the mayor. Can you maybe take one and pass it? This letter addresses the controversial RSS project proposed at 27 Market Street. The council may soon be asked to vote on whether to give RSS site control over 27 Market Street. In preparation for this, I urge the city to practice full transparency by putting all relevant information about this project online. Consolidating the details in one accessible location is crucial for both the council and the public to evaluate whether selling 27 Market Street to RSS aligns with the best interests of the people of Oneonta. In addition to presenting its case for this project, the city also needs to address concerns and eliminate confusion surrounding it. Since mid-December, RSS has conducted 3 separate presentations to the council. Unfortunately, these presentations provided conflicting information, leading to widespread confusion. A pivotal question that RSS has struggled to answer is, who is going to live in the proposed development at 27 Market Street? While the initial RSS presentation stated that the proposed apartments would be available for people earning between $18,000 and $60,000 annually, they now claim that the apartments would only be available to those earning between 30 and 70% of the area median income. According to RSS's figures from the January 18th presentation, this would mean that a 2-person household in a 2-bedroom apartment must earn between $16,000 and $36,000 per year to qualify. For a 1-person household in a 1-bedroom apartment, the income requirement would be between $14,000 and $32,000 per year. How can the city claim that this project will provide workforce housing when the income requirements clearly do not support this? The proposed development is unlikely to accommodate tenants with full-time jobs. Instead, it would be reasonable to expect the building to be mainly occupied by individuals receiving public assistance in various forms. I would also like to ask that RSS provide references to support their claims. For example, they are stating that funding for construction will mainly come from the 9% LICTC program. However, there seems to be a discrepancy as this program caters to low-income households with incomes only up to 60% of the area median income. The question arises, how does RSS reconcile the stated range of 30 to 70%? Additionally, it is crucial to consider that in order to quickly fill the proposed 50 apartments, RSS will need to reach outside Oneonta to find eligible tenants who are willing to move here. Who will truly inhabit these 50 apartments? In section 41-3 of the Oneonta Code, it is made clear that if the city is to sell property, it needs to be done in the best interest of the people of the city of Oneonta. Currently, there are too many unanswered questions and concerns within the community to justify selling to RSS. I am looking forward to the council having a more robust discussion on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Have we anybody else who would like to speak?
I am.
I'm sorry, Dean?
Go ahead, ladies first.
Oh, go ahead, Louisa.
Ladies first.
Okay, sounds good. Good evening, I should say. I'm Louisa Montanti from the 4th Ward of Oneonta, 72 Deed Street. And I'm also here to propose, there are 4 signed, not fully complete, but there are, as a petition that we actually started. And the point of the petition would be opposed to the City of Oneonta's government plan to sell 27 Market Street to RSS. The city has not sought community input on 27 Market Street. It's essential to formulate a plan that is community-driven. I created some bullet points, if I may just speak those, I'll pass those out. Petitions are on top. So it's dated today, February 6, 2024, to Common Council members and Mayor Drenick. Concerned Oneonta residents oppose the City of Oneonta government's plan to sell 27 Market Street to RSS. The city has not sought community input on 27 Market Street. We are not in favor yet of another low-income housing project. The bait-and-switch leadership style is no longer acceptable. Deed Street lofts sold to us as artist lofts, which is really a cover story for a low-income housing project, and the newest Springbrook project under construction is another example of the city not managing the project's original vision, and now we're faced with another 20 of the 24 low-income housing. The Oneonta residents and business owners ask that you do not rush this decision. To sell the land to Rehabilitation Support Services, the city elected officials and managers need to be clear and transparent with this proposal and the future vision for Oneonta before selling this prime retail parcel. The housing unit will not promote or bring any large economic developer to the area if you don't have land to sell in Center City. If we are focused on housing, Common Council, Mayor, and the City Manager address the needs for all types of housing, including market rate targeted toward professional and families. Point number 2, we suggest a public forum with official timely notice given to each resident to discuss concerns and provide answers by the City Mayor, Common Council, and City Manager. The entrusted Common Council needs to provide communications to help educate and inform their ward residents of major potential changes affecting quality of life decisions. As this property is owned by the residents of the City of Oneonta, we request a referendum to allow the residents their voice if they want this project to be built within Center City. And point number 3, we request that all employees of the city, police department, and fire departments be notified of the city's new plan for Market Street. Oneonta's public safety does not have ample resources to be able to properly keep our streets and neighborhoods safe. In closing, it's essential to formulate a plan that this community is community-driven for the economic vision of the retail future of our downtown. We are not in a rush to impact our community with potential negative outcomes as we are identifying in a short amount of time at the Deed Street lofts. Respectfully signed, Louisa Montanti.
Thank you, Louisa. Thank you. Dean, I think you were next.
Dean Roberts from the Green Earth. 17 years ago, my wife and I bought the Green Earth, and parking has been a consideration right from the very beginning. I had so many people say, "Oh, I love your store," but I can't get any parking place to go over to Hannaford. So we built a place on D Street and eliminated a lot of parking. Then we closed the parking. Well, I finally had a break from the 12 Tribes. We were able to rent that lot, that part where the building is now, and it helped us for that period of time it was open. I tried to rent it from the city. I talked to Greg a couple times, and he was busy doing something else there. So now we got 49 spots that are full or almost full every day that I go by there. And I've used it several times myself because I got a bad back and I don't walk too much. So I think that we're going to put a building there. We're going to put 40 units. Some of those people are going to have cars. So that they have a few parking places coming with it. So that's help anyway. But we don't know how many those people have cars. And then they're going to put retail space. Go on Main Street if you want to get retail space, there's plenty available. So I would close this by saying, I spoke to a lot of people over the last month about this issue. I have not found one person that supported it. We have a meeting every Tuesday at the Green Earth, and everybody there was against it, has been, and I pooled our customers and talked to other people. We could use that parking lot as a great addition to the neighborhood. I say we did a good thing, let's leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak? Yes.
I was wondering,
First name and
oh,
address.
Vincent LaRocca, I live at 504 Main Street, Oneonta. I was wondering if there's a way to either eliminate the bike path in front of my house or put a certain hours of use there, because I have several cars that I use for my job, and every time I need to use it, it's like Jenga. I have to pull one out, pull one in, pull the other one back in, so this way I'm not getting parking tickets. How does one go about this?
You've done the first step, which is alerting us to that, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
We'll reconnect, I'm sure. Have we anybody else that would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, Mike DePal, 2 Ferone Drive. There is a property adjacent to the Blodgett Drive residential area. It is a town property, so I'm actually not sure what the Common Council can actually do regarding this, but they have requested a zoning variance so that they can build a 40 RV campground on this property. It's 24 Birchwood Drive, the former Catskill Hospice offices. My wife and I, many of our neighbors feel that a property adjacent to a city residential zone is not an appropriate place for a campground. We assume that they are going to have to hook into city water, city sewer. We're concerned about traffic congestion, noise pollution, and in the drier summers, campfires on that hill, Forested Hill, we're a little concerned about the possibility of a forest fire being started, and the neighborhood is a one egress access. There are 4 dead-end streets coming off of Blodgett, Ferone being one of them, the one up at the top of the hill just before you get into Hillside Commons. And I guess we would appreciate any kind of support in communicating with the town board to oppose this potential campground, running any type of interference of them hooking into city infrastructure to work on the expansion of that property. And so again, I'm just wanting to bring this to the attention of the Common Council that this is a real concern for residents of my neighborhood.
All right, thank you very much. Have we, anyone else who'd like to speak? Yes.
Hi, I'd like to address the 27 Market Street proposal. I'm sorry. My name is Michael Spolzer. I own a number of rental properties in town, as well as the old VFW on Main Street at 97 Main Street. I don't have a formal presentation for you yet, but just speaking from my gut, I have to say that I'm disappointed in the way this has been moving forward. With 3 presentations by RSS before I heard about it. Largely my fault, I suppose, for not having my ear to the ground. But when I originally inquired about it, I was told numbers that were later revealed to be inaccurate. And I believe those numbers were repeated on the state of the county address. And there are just a couple of things that I'm concerned about with, and I do business with a lot of individuals, and there's always a red flag when somebody lies to me. And when RSS is putting forth, in the beginning, numbers that are inaccurate, that's a red flag to me. When their mission states that their prime concern is the quality of life, the improvement of life for their clients, and they proceed to attempt to secure a location to move them to that is within half a block of 5 or 6 bars, a legal pot shop, drugs readily available, I have to question the sincerity of their words. And again, Louisa pointed out this bait and switch. I supported the artist housing unit. What it was presented as was, I thought, a great idea, and it has, I can't describe what it's turned into in polite company. So I sincerely request that the entire community be brought into the conversation, that everyone not be in a situation like this where they can say something but can't get a response. We really need to have a dialogue. Everyone needs to know about this. This is not a small thing. This is the vision of the future of the entire city that's at stake. And I think given what's happened at the Deed Street project, given the change up on Main Street with the second floor apartments, that we cannot afford to stay on the rails we seem to be on. If the train doesn't switch tracks, it is definitely going to end up where it's headed. It's just beyond me, actually, that this has progressed to this point where RSS is presenting what its timeline is, and I mean, we should be moving at our own timeline, not theirs. This is just disappointing, to put it mildly. Thank you.
Chip?
Yes, Chip Holmes, 53 Deed Street. On the RSS proposal, again, there was Zoom meetings and all that, and that's much appreciated. I don't think any of us here have any problem with that. It feels like it really did move down the track before anybody, I mean, oh, we're just talking. All of a sudden we hear, oh, this thing could happen any day now. So it's a little too quick. I am against it for every reason that was already mentioned. I can't imagine, we've all dealt with people, great families that have had issues with recovery, and we all know people. So it's not that they don't do good work. It's not that we don't support them in Oneonta. But honestly, I invested in Main Street, and it's taken a long time to keep moving. I didn't invest. I know you like to use feet on the ground. I'm going to pick on you. There's certain feet on the ground that, unfortunately, for a retail establishment you need, and certain retail establishments aren't going to be successful in situations where you're bringing in people that might need help and might be great people on the path forward. But, I mean, you have bars and bong shops and head shops and legalized cannabis and college students having fun, which is great. I mean, I'd rather see more college kids downtown because they're the ones with all the money that could spend it. So I agree with that. On the next part, on a little more positive note, I'm really glad to see number 9 on here. I hope everybody supports it. I would love to have more discussion about that. I was very adamant about not having a coffee shop in the backyard of my neighborhood. People said, oh, blah, 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 and maybe all that stuff. It wasn't anything about that. My backyard is my little private spot in the city. I don't expect to have 50 acres and nobody around me, but I do expect the back of my house. So it was kind of funny that was even considered behind the house. We don't allow front yard parking, but we were going to allow business in the backyard. I thought that was kind of silly. So I hope you do the moratorium so we could discuss it, because I know they were good people. My wife's, I don't drink coffee, but she goes there all the time. I'm sure they're wonderful guys and seem like it. So the way they got run out of town was unfortunate, but I would rather have them out of town than in my neighbor's backyard. So I think that's wonderful if you can all support 9. And I'll let somebody else speak.
Thank you very much, Chip. Have we anybody else? Yes.
My name's Wendy Hunt. I actually live in Franklin, New York. I've lived in Oneonta, raised my family here for years, and I am not in support of the RSS project in the location that they're proposing. But I do want to bring attention to the fact that the information that was provided for this meeting included a letter on Foothills letterhead. This is not representative of the foothills as it is, and it should have been withdrawn from the package that was provided. It is just the individual's personal information. So signed by Jeffrey Doyle, who is the executive director, but that is not from Foothills, and it should have been withdrawn. So I'm just bringing that to attention, and I'm very disappointed, and I'll say this to you, Mark, that in that package were only letters in favor of the RSS package, and not any of the letters that we've already received that were against the process. And that is all that was presented in that package publicly. So I'm just disappointed in that it felt like that whole package was being one-sided, so.
I appreciate that, Wendy. I will say, that's the correspondence we received. We did not receive.
Yes, but it should have been pulled as of today, because the board of the Foothills was not aware that that was being sent.
Understood. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I just have one last entry for the petition. There's 2 more signatures, and I was just going to piggyback on what Wendy said, because I was going to bring that up too. I actually called through the board members of Foothills, because my name is on that page. If you take a look at that letterhead, I'm an emeritus board member that was served on the board for 6.5 years, and I've been off the board for the past four years. And when I spoke to the president, vice president, and one of the other board members, they are not in favor of that project, and they will be in touch with Common Council to confirm that that letter did not come from Foothills. That was a personal letter written by the executive director.
Very good. Short.
Yes. I just would like to add to my concern about the presentations, my comment about the presentations from the representative of RSS not having red flags. One of the things that occurred in her presentation to the Common Council was her evaluation of the feedback she had. And I think it would, that's the Common Council relying on the wolf to hear what the sheep had to say. And she did not accurately report the feedback she had. She did not respond to my questions. She said she would get back to me, and she didn't, because I inquired about the recidivism rate. No idea. And my guess is no data on the recidivism rate when they're surrounded by bars and other places they can buy drugs at a moment's notice. So there's that mistrust that is a concern, and I would appreciate it if everyone would take that into consideration. They're not exactly forthcoming.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Have we anyone else?
Mayor, before we go on, I would just like to know how many signatures were turned in on the petition.
About 22, 10 and 2.
No, there's more than that. There's more than that, because the ones I've read had almost that many.
And there are more out there that are on
Yeah,
the streets talking
I
to.
had some too from work.
The overwhelming public, anybody I talk to in town, I haven't found one person who says, yeah, we gotta do this, this is gonna be great for the town. Nobody. I think that's a good part to have together.
Have we, anybody who has not spoken?
Yeah. About 64 in total, so individual numbers.
Do we have anybody who's not spoken that would like to address the council, George?
Yeah, just real quickly, while we're looking at 64 signatures. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, George Wells, 12 Walnut Street. So 64 signatures in total here now, Len. Great question. Understand that that's reactive to us all just finding out about this, which I'm getting tired of saying this, right? At these meetings, communication seems to be an issue. And I hope we can go through that. I'm really concerned about Wendy's comment about only positive supportive letters going out. That falls in line with the lack of communication or transparent and honest communication. Last conversation I had about the loss on deeds was that we've toured the facility, these are good neighbors. We're finding that's not so true. So please, honesty, transparency, certainly let's not go into another issue so we end up with a bigger issue in our city. We already have an issue that's created now on deeds. We have the Springbrook property, which is now becoming low-income housing, which we were told was not going to be. Let's slow down, fix our city, and get this taken care of before we go deeper. Okay?
Mayor?
Yes.
May I ask a question just for the record? Was any correspondence withheld?
Everything that I received.
We got.
I understand, Shannon.
Everything that we received prior to the packet
Yes.
is in your packet, and then I received one today at 11 o'clock that I didn't get until after 1.
Okay.
It's out of the office, and that I have here to read.
Thank you.
So everything I've received has been disclosed.
I figured that was the case, thank you.
Thank you.
In the back, go ahead.
Matthew Brownell, 81 Chestnut Street. I am owner of the Yellow Deli, along with my many friends. But this is a topic that's close to home with me. I was once part of the RSS program, and I think it's detrimental to people with mental illness who are also prone to have drug problems to be together in that one area. And I know I wouldn't have done well in that situation many years ago when I was part of that program. So, and I obviously, what that petition is, I'm not sure. I haven't signed that petition, but I'm against this project for many different reasons, but the personal reason, and then also just the reality of building downtown Oneonta and making it a place that people will feel comfortable going to. And I'm speaking from a person that was in that population of people, in the RSS program. So I don't have anything against those people, but I don't think it's going to be beneficial for the building up of downtown Oneonta anyway. So.
Thank you very much. I think Kathy, you might be next.
Yes, I'd like to make that 65.
D Street,
Chestnut Street. Variety, Kathy Variety, Chestnut Street. 61.
Kathy, David just wanted you to
I just
identify
wanted to
yourself.
identify.
Oh, I thought you were saying that now. Okay.
No.
Okay,
Many times.
thank you. I'll do it fast.
Okay, I have 1 minute. 2 minutes.
or less.
I'd just like to ask the council, and you don't have to respond, but are you in tune to what is happening to Deep Street? Do you know the cases that are, you do
I
not?
was just gonna follow up with you after the meeting.
Well, there's a lot of incidences that are drug-related. There's heroin needles that are being found all over the place. Your police force, our taxpayer money that pays the police force, is overridden by the amount of calls, as well as the fire department, by the amount of calls that go to that building. And it's become, I'm sorry, it's not the lofts, because that's what we were promised, and I knew that from the get-go, because I challenged Common Council when it was put on the table back in 2021. And we knew that they were going to turn them into low-income housing. I have nothing against low-income housing. I've taken people off the street, heroin addicts, which I won't mention who they are, to revive them and get them back in place and put them on a better place in life. But what you're doing is not acceptable, because you are ruining the path of the future of Oneonta. There is no retail that's coming. Feet on the street is not the feet of the street that we want. I am sorry. If you have a vision for a city, we have to be inclusive. We are inclusive. We overextend ourselves. In fact, the county has chosen Oneonta as its residential place for all of those that are in DSS services, need mental health, need every kind of health possible, but you're the ones that don't deal with them. As the manager of the Southside Mall, I can't tell you what I deal with. Public defecation, heroin problems, cocaine sales. That's my job. That's not fair. And I'm saying it's a worldwide problem, not just Oneonta. But to put that building in Center City where there's access to addiction, which is very difficult to control, is an issue. And if you want to, afterwards, there is a gentleman here in the room that is a superintendent of that building who can tell you exactly. And maybe he doesn't want to do it here presently, but I would please behoove you all to give him a call. And if you want that number, I will give you the number, and you can do it in private with each one of you. But it is a problem, and we cannot be blind to it any longer. I walked from my Deed Street home always to Latte Lounge. I don't do that anymore. Just stand back and watch, just 1 minute of the day, and see what happens.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you much. Have we anybody who isn't, Michael?
What I want to say is this is the problem, that people can't speak, that there's not enough of a dialogue, that a limitation on the time and no interaction is not a community. It's not what we need when it comes to decisions that are going to impact us and our children. It's just not how it should be, and we need to change that. This is, 3 minutes is nowhere near enough for me to let you know everything I know about what's going on.
Very good. Have we anyone else? Yes.
Carla Napolitano, Union Street. So what are the chances that this will go through?
This winds up being the common council's decision. I couldn't tell you.
Any idea when we would know about this?
It's
So no answer.
It's not something I really have a good answer for you on.
Thank you.
Have we anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to be more transparent. If you watched the last common council meeting with the RSS presentation, I did ask that question of what's their timeline. So to somebody's point about the sheep and the wolves and all that, they did give a timeline of 1.5 months from that point. So I'm appreciative of you folks coming to our meeting and expressing your thoughts and your concerns, and I agree that we need to have more transparency, but the timeline was given for 1.5 months.
So on that, if I may, just to be fair to us, see, when you come in and say, we're just feeling the water, we want to know if it's warm or cold or what it is, that's all they've said. So nobody really paid much attention. When I heard RSS is going to build a building, and well, they're just getting their feet wet. Now all of a sudden we have 6 weeks to organize, and we've been doing it for 3 days with this petition, which will have thousands of people on it once we get on the street. We haven't even left our neighborhood. Nobody around the city wants it, but what a big, that is garbage. When I was on the council, we would never allow that to happen. Oh, just getting our feet wet. Oh, here you go. There's no formal, what's the path, I guess would be the question. When they have an official document that says what they're going to do, when they're almost under oath, maybe, if that's a word, where they're telling you what they think and the truth behind what they're going to do, how long do we have from that point to really get organized so we can meet with our older people or council people they are now? That's how long ago I was on the council. So, because that's really upsetting that they've gotten their feet wet and all of a sudden they're ready to go. And I think, from what I understand, the council might be interested in it. The fact that nobody said, take a hike, come back when you have a proposal, and then present to us, and we'll have the cards go out in the public forums and all that stuff. But now, it's like they're all organized. You guys have your mindset potentially. I hope you don't, but potentially. And now we are behind the ball. It's almost like a setup. And that's where we're really upset. Because I live across from Deed Street. I'm a big guy. I walk my dog. I see things, but they don't bother me. I'll still go down to Huntington Park with the beautiful lights. What a great job Huntington Park has done making itself what it is today compared to what it was 10 years ago when I used to walk through it in the dark at night and in the morning. So let's get that out there. Let's tell RSS, take a hike until you have a real proposal, present it. We'll tell everybody in the world that it's happening, and we'll go to Foothills and we'll fill it up and we'll talk about it. That's the right way to go about it. If this goes any further without that, then shame on the council and the leadership of Oneonta.
Thank you, Dick.
Judy Sweet, Ward 1, Walling Boulevard. Just as a suggestion to the council, when situations like this come up, whether it be the law or the RSS project or something that's really going to affect the entire community, may I suggest that each council member holds a ward meeting at that time so that you can hear from the constituency on the feeling. I honestly didn't know there was a petition about this. Don't know if I ever would know about a petition, but if everyone held a meeting and we all knew about it, we'd be able to express our concerns, our likes or dislikes.
Thank you, Judy. Have we anybody else?
Yes. Mayor,
I think a couple of questions that need to be asked after the timeline of a month and a half. Is that when the tax credits close with the state of New York? Because RSS works on tax credits, and that's one of the things that they have in their proposal. So I think that's something
what they
need to ask.
yeah,
That's why they're pushing that month and a half date, because I'm not going to be beholden to the state because they close, because they open them up every year.
Right.
We got to have the dialogue.
So what the RSS brought to council at our last meeting was a timeline relative to the windows opening and closing specific to what you're talking about here, which is, that is, as much as anything else, the driver of their decision as to whether or not they would be inclined to build, because it's a case of being able to apply for grants within a time frame. If the time frame is no longer available to them, to answer your question, we don't know what that winds up meaning, and a lot of this will wind up being generated by the decisions of council. Not a lot of this, all of this will be decided by council. So,
but that was an answer that they were looking for, and that's an answer we could have gave them, is tax credits close at this time. This is probably why they're driving this like this. That's open communication.
I appreciate that.
Can we ask for a show of hands of everybody in the audience for it or against it?
I think we've got that more or less covered here. In fact, I think everyone has spoken here. If there is anyone else, this would be a great time. If not, we'll move on.
I would like
Yes.
to maybe ask something, because as an 8th Ward resident, I live right downtown. I walk past the D Street lofts every day, and I am an artist. I have a studio at Kano. And I don't know if my fellow council members would agree with me in this or not, but I am kind of curious if there is some kind of metrics or some kind of way that we can assess whether or not the D Street Loft project is successful or not, or how it's working, or how many artists have actually moved in there, or who has moved in there, because this project is very similar in nature to what has just been built. And I mean, I haven't seen a rise in Keno memberships. I haven't really seen an influx of artists from it. I am curious about that before we make a decision to put another project of this nature in the heart of downtown.
Ask the police.
Yes.
Yeah, ask the police.
That would be my. Well, she's asking about a deeper question of, are artists really there, and how come we don't have exhibits, and how come they're not joining Kano and all this stuff that they're supposed to do?
Right.
I understand, and that's great.
Thank you.
So what I would say, Emily, one of the things that this council is looking to do is streamline the beginning of these meetings. How's that working out? And then get ourselves to a point where we have some robust discussion at its end, where we are looking at a specific topic. And I would say that as we move into, I think this agenda item has now just suggested itself, as we move into our next meeting, which is February 20th, that discussion area of that council meeting will be, I think, about the metrics of the Deed Street lofts, so that we all know specifically how they have fared. We're getting close to a grand opening for them anyway. I think it'd be a nice thing for everybody to be on the same page as to whether or not they are successful, or if they're coming up short, and if they are, and what the issue is, if they are having issues, what the mitigation is going to be. So we'll make that an item for discussion in our next meeting as we get to the other end of that meeting, so I expect I'll see most of you there for that meeting.
Could you add to that the amount of times the police have attended?
Yes, it'll be,
And the fire department?
that will
That'll all
be,
be foiled, so I don't have to do that.
I think that makes a
So I was
ton of
gonna do
sense.
that next.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yes,
I just want to
if you
know
would
how
introduce yourself and.
Oh, Stephanie Jaffe. How did the RSS pick Oneonta? Why did they come here and build the project?
Ma'am, could you identify yourself so we can put on the record if
Oh,
you're asking
Stephanie
questions?
Jaffe. Thank you.
And you live at?
Oh, I'm sorry, 119 Spruce Street.
Without this, we tried to keep it from, this is more of a petitioner's section, but to answer your question,
okay.
that's fine, to answer your question, RSS had long planned to build in the 6th Ward, as we are all aware.
Okay.
And I called them in and asked them, do you have a strategy in which you might succeed because they own property? And they did not. And we explored some other options. So that happened in the context of my office, for my having called them in. Anybody else? Okay. In that case, with that, understanding that there's a letter that is going to be read that is from the Foothills, but not from the Foothills, rather from Jeff Doyle, I'll turn to our city clerk and ask if you would please read the correspondence.
So we have 3 items in your packet that we received last week, and then a 4th and final one that was received today after the packets had been prepared. The first one is from Denise Michelson regarding the Stop the Roundabout plan. New York State DOT is proposing a roundabout from Maple Lettuce Main Street. They did a presentation in November 2023 at Oneonta High School and somehow expected people to cheer them on, but almost everyone who spoke objected to the project. Only one person liked the project, Kleiman, who probably still owns the double house on Main and Maple, and that building has been for sale or rent for many months or over a year. Although they made a detailed show and tell presentation that day, they have delayed the date for the similar presentation to the Common Council. I perceive that they are trying to create more justification, more than the foolish garbage they tried to give us in November. Project managers did not inform the Oneonta City Public Works manager when they had a meeting about the roundabout in late November. Nothing. When I told him about the meeting, he was quite disgusted at the lack of information. The roundabout project is a horrible, dangerous, extremely wasteful, scary, atrocious idea. It will especially endanger pedestrians, but also drivers. The DOT project managers claimed it would keep cars moving, eliminate the need for drivers to stop at a traffic light when no one is coming from other direction. If a roundabout is such a great idea for traffic, why don't more cities have roundabouts? Why not have a roundabout at every Oneonta intersection? The project aims only to help cars move. They claim to plan crosswalks for pedestrians. These crosswalks might have refuge islands or center gardens or guardrails. Any of these options would be dangerous. A refuge island would cause people with strollers or pets or just short attention span to step into the road, into the path of an oncoming vehicle. City buses have great difficulty driving around a roundabout. Center Garden, at the November meeting, a DOT manager told a law enforcement person that emergency vehicles can drive down the middle. But if there is a refuge island or garden or guardrail, how will that happen? They told a gardener that garden plants will be moved to Center Island. Again, if emergency vehicles can drive in the center, they would destroy the garden. As for enabling drivers to keep moving, many drivers refuse to stop for pedestrians. I walk many miles every day, as do a few other people here. I must wait for many cars to stop, or I must go to a traffic light to cross. Even if they do think about letting me cross, many drivers like to keep moving as I cross the street in front of them. So I yell, stop, 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 and they honk their horns at me to make me move faster. I move fairly fast, far faster than many people who walk, so it's quite clear that drivers don't want to stop for pedestrians. We want a traffic light controlled crosswalk at Main Street for the post office, not a voluntary crosswalk. One DOT idea is to include signage to discourage pedestrian traffic at dead-end portions of the DOT sidewalk heading southward. So does this discourage pedestrians from walking on Lettuce Highway, where other project managers say, oh, just walk on the shoulder, or cyclists yield to pedestrians? Now, except for me, most cyclists don't yield. They just yell, whoops, sorry, as they ride past me. Pure delusion. Or brilliant rectangular rapid flashing beacons, RRFB, at pedestrian crossings, malarkey. Turning right on red causes drivers to push me across the street or defy me from trying to cross. As I told Odigi, a full stop red light, as in some cities around the world, is the best way to create better, not perfect, safety for pedestrians. Very often across the entire country, as I've seen, drivers tailgate, drive too close to the vehicle in front, and if the driver in front chooses to stop for a pedestrian, the following tailgating driver will crash into the stopped car and probably hurt the pedestrian. I have stopped or proceeded slowly for various reasons on some streets, and the following driver slams his or her horn at me, yelling, swearing at me. My experience, not random words. DOT managers want a single lane for pedestrians and bicycles on Main Street and decline to create a sidewalk on Lettuce Highway. They say, oh, you can walk on the shoulder, walking with cars driving 40 miles per hour or more. The entire project and the people promoting it are foolish. On one phone call I had with Tom H., co-worker of project manager Daniel Odigi, who called me after I'd spoken with Daniel O., Tom tried to convince me of the advantages of the roundabout. He even said, in 3 years, you'll know this was a good idea. That sentence is patriarchal, condescending, demeaning, insulting, misogynistic, just plain ugly. Most important is that many drivers will not stop for pedestrians, as I see every day, many times a day. Stop this project, tell DOT to provide $3.5 million to Oneonta for road repair, sidewalks on Lettuce Highway, traffic light at the post office and Main Street, Denise Michelson. I also have a letter that is written by Jeff Doyle, who contacted me this afternoon to clarify that this letter is written on his own behalf and does not necessarily reflect the views of the board. To the esteemed members of the City of Oneonta Common Council, following my conversations with Christine Nealon, Director of Strategic Partnerships with Rehabilitation Support Services Incorporated, Mayor Mark Drenick, and other community members, I would like to express my support of the sale and development of 27 Market Street to and by RSS. It is my belief that the opportunity to provide affordable housing to Oneonta residents, something which is in short supply, should be enthusiastically seized upon. There has been a growing need for long-term apartment rentals for working-class Oneonta residents for quite some time. The development of 27 Market Street would substantially alleviate this issue. Additionally, RSS has the ability to provide services to individuals in need that Oneonta, the greater Oneonta area, and Otsego County in general lack the resources to provide. We have an opportunity to diminish the epidemic of homelessness, addiction, and folks living rough in our community. Doing what can be done to provide housing and enable recovery within our city is not only the admirable thing to do, it is the humane thing to do. Finally, Foothills and all of Oneonta stand to benefit economically from the development of 27 Market Street. We would undoubtedly see increased foot traffic for businesses both on Main Street and Market Street. With affordable housing comes disposable income, which leads to increased local spending, which leads to a vibrant downtown. With the addition of the proposed makerspace, there is also an added component that encourages visitors, engagement, and offers something unique to residents and passersby alike. In closing, I recognize that there are concerns about housing and rehabilitating those who need support services in downtown Oneonta. Providing housing is a crucial first step toward improved quality of life for these individuals, which subsequently allows them a chance to take the next steps towards recovery and toward a better future. Once the basic necessities are met and their lives are markedly better, those next steps can be made and become much easier to make. Inaction never solved anything. Let's do what is right for those individuals and for Oneonta and enthusiastically support this project. Thank you for your time, attention, and consideration. Sincerely, Jeff Doyle. Council members, until Oneonta decides to try something new when it comes to housing, we shouldn't be surprised when we get the same results. And those results are driving potential residents away from our city's core, where Main Street retailers and restaurants need enough shoppers and diners to thrive. Progress has been made with the opening of the Deed Street lofts and the soon-to-open apartments above the Green Toad. What's missing is an affordable option on Market Street that can pull more Oneontans to Foothills Performing Arts Center and the Green Earth. The housing proposed for 27 Market Street would rely on right-sized rents, which are calculated based on Otsego County's median income of $52,000 for a two-person household. For a single parent making $34,000 a year, a two-bedroom apartment would rent for $900 to $1,000 per month. Even with all of the new housing coming online lately, a $1,000 two-bedroom is nearly impossible to find and desperately needed, because in addition to an affordable place to live, this apartment would also be in a spot to take advantage of all of the opportunities in our downtown, like a show at Foothills or a story time at the Toad or lunch at Green Earth. There is also easy access to the bus system. Plus, the street level of 27 Market Street will likely contain a makerspace and or other retail options. Not only would this make the city a more vibrant place, any dollar spent will release some pressure on Oneonta's bottom line. As the plan stands, more than 3 dozen apartments would be allocated for the right-sized rent program. Another dozen would be set aside for those in need of the support services RSS provides, and professionals who know how to provide that support will live in the building. Unlike past plans, the developers of this potential project have been upfront about their aims and listened to current city residents' concerns. Because of all of this, we urge the Common Council to move forward with this project, and it's signed by Nora Mendez, Otsego County Representative District 11, Adrian Martini, Otsego County Representative District 12, and Jill Basili, District number 14. And then the email that is not in your packet that was received today is from Nicholas Greer. He states, I live in the west end of Oneonta on West End Ave, and I am writing to voice my concern regarding the hasty development and sale of the 27 Market Street property. I am unable to make it to the Common Council tonight as I will be teaching my night class at SUNY Oneonta, but I would like to voice the importance of slowing down the process of development in order for myself and the community to be better informed and make better informed decisions about the future of our community. Please feel free to contact me with anything best.
Thank you very much, Carrie. And that takes us to the end of our petitioners' public hearings and correspondence portion of the agenda, which now brings me to one of my absolute favorite things in the world to be able to do. This position does have benefit, and that is to recognize people who, through selflessness and their commitment to our community, have made the community better for their efforts. And most times we don't know who they are, and we don't know who to thank. We just know that somehow or another today was better than yesterday. And such a group of folks is with us today, some of them, not all of them, the Oneonta Susquehanna Greenway Committee. So first of all, if you step forward. And one of the things that was my pleasure to initiate was something that we call the Spirit of Oneonta recognition, Spirit of Oneonta Award. And the proclamation that you'll find here reads as follows. Whereas, and they'll start with whereas nearly 24 years ago, Mayor Kim Muller formed the Oneonta Susquehanna Greenway Committee as a steering committee to guide the city on its application and administration of the Transportation Equity Act, TEA 21 grant, which produced an instructive engineering study but left few remaining funds for the construction of trails in the city of Oneonta. Whereas the committee, undeterred by that lack of funding, proceeded as volunteers to blaze what is now the Silas Lane Loop on its own. And whereas the Oneonta Susquehanna Greenway Committee has continued those volunteer efforts through these many years in good weather and in bad, seemingly more often bad, to maintain and improve the trails, to provide benches and educational displays, and whereas increasing numbers of residents and visitors regularly enjoy leisurely hikes along the Susquehanna River, following a trail that weaves through flowering shrubs and wooded groves where sightings of eagle and deer and rabbits and more are regular and memorable treats, and whereas the committee has become a valued and trusted partner and collaborator with the City of Oneonta community groups such as the Future for Oneonta Foundation, which has enhanced and expedited projects such as the ADA Accessible Mill Race Trail and the hugely popular New Island Trails, and whereas the committee continues to work and advocate for the completion of 4 sections of trail, 3 of which are complete, that will run for 6 miles along the river in the city and town of Oneonta and may eventually connect to Fortin Park in Oneonta's East End. And whereas the many visitors and residents of Oneonta are visibly appreciative of these efforts but may not know who to thank. Now therefore, I, Mark Drenick, Mayor of the City of Oneonta, on behalf of its grateful citizens, do hereby proclaim and recognize the Oneonta Susquehanna Greenway Committee and all its members, past and present, as recipients of the Spirit of Oneonta Award, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Oneonta to be affixed on this 6th day of February 2024. I'll let you guys. And in a room this small, we probably don't need a microphone, but is there anyone who would like to say something on behalf of the group? Go ahead, Nana.
Thank you for this honor. It's great to be appreciated, but I think our greatest appreciation is if we see all of you on the trail at some point this summer. Get out there and enjoy it.
And if you feel like trimming shrubbery and things like that.
Picking up branches, cutting logs.
Splitting logs, yeah.
Right.
That's terrific. Let's get a picture for posterity. Does that sound like a deal?
Yes, I would appreciate that.
I'll squeeze in here with you.
That's crazy.
All right. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Susan Lettuce, who is, I think the title is Deer Mitigation Coordinator. Is that close enough?
That's close enough.
To provide a report to the council. Take it away, Susan.
I'm just gonna stand here.
That's fine.
If you can't hear me, then let me know. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. So, basically, I was appointed as the deer coordinator, I think in November. The biggest sort of thing that we're doing now is we're ready to sort of launch this deer monitoring tool. So I spent some time researching some different software platforms to sort of gather information from anybody who wants to report any information about deer that they observe in the city or even outside the city. And then I also spoke with Carrie, who recommended a certain software platform that we already use, and I think we already subscribe to it, so it makes sense to sort of use the same one. So that is ready to be launched unless there's a major objection from council to move forward with that. No, hearing none. Do you have a question?
Are you going to do questions after your presentation? Or?
Yeah, I'll take questions when if it's about this, then I'll answer your question.
So I'm not familiar with this software. I don't think we ever talked about it in the committee. So a little bit further flushing of that out would be appreciated. How many sightings are you trying to limit this to?
So we're just trying to collect information, so I can briefly run through the questions. It's going to be called the Deer Interaction Reporting Tool or Deer Observation Reporting Tool, because we don't want to necessarily gather negative interactions. If people want to report positive things too, they can do that. So we will be asking the name of the reporter and their address, the location of the observation. It could be an incident, it could be a car accident in the city. We want to know how many deer were involved. Did the incident involve a motor vehicle? Was anyone injured? Were any deer injured? Any property damage, please explain. Did the incident get reported to any law enforcement or any pets involved? How often do you have deer in your yard? Do you have excess of deer droppings in your yard? Have you noticed an increase in the deer population? How did this interaction affect you and your family? And we want to leave a sort of an open comment area to collect information. So we're not really asking for, like, what do you want us to do about it? We're just really trying to gather information through this reporting tool. We've all been receiving lots of information and don't have a nice central location to put it. So this is a method. And Carrie, can you just say the name of the program?
So the product is called Paperform. It's a tool that we subscribe to. We use it in various departments within the city. It's used to track and monitor any complaints and accommodations. We use it for code enforcement, to report any concerns that people might have, even something as simple as contact the city. So we have the ability to take all of the data that comes in and it puts it in one central location. In this instance, it'll be connected to the city's Google Drive and it will populate a spreadsheet to track all of the information. And then any of the radio button options, it'll put them into a chart to give a visual representation of the data collected. So it's a built-up survey monkey.
To a map?
It does not interact with GIS, but we have an amazing GIS division that will be able to take that information and work with it.
So where is this? This is a computer thing?
It's a computer program. It's a cloud-based software called Paperform.
Paperform.
Cecilia.
Yes, I have a question for Susan, thank you. I don't know if you have more for your presentation, but.
I mean, the main part was this reporting tool and just moving that forward. There's a kind of a punch list from, you know, the plan that council had approved. Some of the steps are easier than others. Some, you know, I'm encountering some more complicated sort of aspects of some of the items that we thought made sense. Maybe they don't make as much sense as we thought they did. So I don't really want to get into all of the details during this meeting, but do you have any other questions?
I did have a question for you. I'm just curious to what end the data collection is sort of aiming for, if there are links that you're making to the state and state or regional projects around deer management. So this is a city concern, but it's also a county concern. It's also a you know, multiple county concern. It's a statewide concern. It's a Northeast concern. So I'm just curious about the linkages that maybe you're going to be making, or if this program will allow you to make.
Yeah, certainly we can. I mean, this is meant to be very transparent, and we wanted an accurate way to gather and collect information and then report out on it. And we already were linked up with the DEC. I spoke with our sort of, I was going to call her a handler, but our wildlife biologist that covers our region today. And so this is one tool. What DEC would need from us is, and they've received some of it already, but they want a customer survey, a customer satisfaction survey from our community. So we've done one round of that, and that's a separate thing that we need to do. So this is not that, but that's one thing that we need to also continue to do, and maybe we'll use the same program to do that. So yeah, we'll link up with whatever.
I just want to thank you for taking this on and being so thorough. Thank you.
I'm really trying to coordinate people and link people up with specific tasks. I hope, you know, we can move this forward, because I know that, you know, there was a lot of public interest in it and interest from council, so we'll do the best we can with it.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Yes, Bryce.
Oh, Susan, I just want to say thank you. As a 7th Ward rep, believe it or not, deer is my #1 question. Just being close to the college and the wooded areas and a lot of plant. My wife and a lot of people like to plant. The deers take it out, so this is a great update.
Any further questions from council? I'm sorry. Any further questions from council? Susan, I thank you very much, and we'll invite you back again and again. Thank you very much. All right. At that point, yes, we have a council for most of this, but I appreciate that, Raph. And as long as you've got the floor, Raph, Raphael Sasson is going to provide us, maybe with a little assistance, a presentation on the current status of planning for the Jerry Jeff Walker performance venue, and I'll let you take it from here. Raphael Sasson.
Thanks. Who's in charge of Okay, so this is about this proposed memorial theater to honor Jerry Jeff Walker, which I hope you all know who he is. And it's for a theater venue to be maybe built right across the street from here at the field. Can I have the next slide, please? So the idea is the field next to Damaski. It's I think it's called Field 5 on some of the city maps. What we provide, and that area that's bordered by the dotted line is basically 8,000 square feet according to Google Maps. And then the inner blue, dark blue would be a hedge-lined, limited access venue within which there will be a 350 to 400 feet auditorium, open air auditorium with a stage that's about anywhere between 30 and 40 feet wide, maybe 20 feet deep, maybe 30 feet deep, seating for 350 to 400 people, and space around the auditorium area for food trucks to come in, for picnic tables, restrooms, and obviously there'll be one box office. And the reason we went with a limited access venue is it really optimizes a whole lot of things, including security, including desirability, including intimacy of the show. And I can go into a lot of detail, but I want to keep it brief because I know we're running out of time. And so there'd be a single box office. Can I have the next picture, please? So this is kind of Emily Falco's rendition of what we think the front of the entrance to the Jerry Jeff Walker Memorial Theater will look like. Next slide, please. This is, I was in London last July, and I went to a place called the Open Air Theatre of London, an incredible open air, which basically gave me and gave us our vision for what like this theater could be. As you can see, it's all fenced and lined on both sides. Next slide, please. With bushes that are tall enough to prevent anybody coming in. Inside, they have walkways. They have, in this version, they actually have physical buildings that sell food, beer, wine, pizza, sandwiches. Next slide, please. This is a view of the back of the auditorium that's in the London Open Theatre. Next slide, please. And again, as you can see, we envision possible walkways, rest areas, food courts. Next slide. Toilets, restrooms. Next slide, please. And again, this is what we think that it could look like: picnic tables, round tables. The food trucks could come in and go on event days. Next slide, please. And again, this is back to London, where they have exactly the same thing. London, the umbrellas, the chairs. Next slide. So this is our vision for what the actual auditorium space will look like. It basically be a stage that's kind of that shape with an overhang instead of an open, no overhang. And the reason we want to go with an overhang or a canopy over the stage is that we can build the lights into it and have the sound system built into it. And in order to facilitate a show, we would just really need one technician to come in, go to the control room, which would be at the back of the seating area, flip the switches, lights come on, put a few microphones on the stage, plug them into the jacks around the stage. Bingo, you have a show. Next slide, please. Again, this is the London Theatre seating, which is very similar to what we have in mind. Except in their case, this theater does dramas, plays, Shakespeare stuff, whatever. I mean, and we're actually seeing this venue to be more for music, bands, puppet shows, jugglers, symphony orchestras. That the reason I wanted to go with a larger stage so that we can actually host a 30, 40 piece band.
Music union won't allow.
Excuse me?
Music union will not allow symphony orchestra to play in an outdoor venue.
Okay, well, we'll find. We'll bring the Philharmonics here, that's okay. Next slide, please. And again, this is a kind of what that theater looks like, and I love to envision a few years from now we can have that picture be the Jerry Jeff Walker Theater. And to just tie it up, Jerry Jeff Walker's son, Django, I believe his name is. We have in the task force,
Performance Art Task Force, yeah.
No, Doug is very close with Jerry Jeff Walker's family and son, and they have expressed extreme support for this theater. And he said that he would actually be happy to be the opening act. His son has apparently a real big country and western fan. So we have support from the family, and that's it.
Financial support?
Who?
Financial support?
We're not talking about financial. I mean, yes, they said they will put up some money. I'm not sure. We have no idea how much this will cost, and that has to go out to a request for application, request for proposals. We'll get a real architect designer instead of me to kind of sketch out what it will be, how much it will cost, and then we'll take it to the next step. Any questions?
So thank you very much, Raphael. Are there any questions? Shannon?
So normally we host Juneteenth in that space.
Yes.
This is looking like this is not The way the seating is, it's staggered down, so I'm assuming it's not gonna be good for stuff like Juneteenth and other celebrations.
How many people attended Juneteenth?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yeah.
More than 400s?
Why would that matter?
Well, because the seating and capacity is 400.
But
Oh,
they're
there's
not
enough?
sitting.
Okay, if you go back to slide number 2, if you go back, the map. That,
Typically,
the
see that one
audit-
thing?
the auditorium itself is just that blue, the dark blue area with the seating. All of the rest of the area, and that could actually be bigger or smaller, is intended for outdoor activities, including food trucks, including, if you want, bouncy houses. I think that's 80,000 square feet, which is pretty big. So I think there's enough room there, and again, that's really up to the council, the architects to decide exactly what do we want to do in that space. Instead of just being an open space where we bring a truck with, that opens and closes. I mean, I lived here for 35 years, and I find it a challenge to always come to an event in the park and bring my chairs with me. I'd rather go to a theater where I have seats. And again, we can, I'm not saying that's going to be a paid venue. It could be, I like it to be ticketed, but it's limited seating. In other words, you're going to have 400 seats, and when it's full, it's full. But the other side of it is that you can actually create a for-pay event. In other words, we can sell tickets, and if it's a band that people really want to pay to see, we can sell tickets. The city could take the money. I mean, that's an option. That's why I think of a limited access venue as a far superior solution to theater, entertainment, presentations than just an open field with a truck and some blankets.
Further questions from council? Yes, sir.
So are we directing the technical questions of the process, the timeline to Greg?
Yes, absolutely.
So Greg, could you just tell us what that timeline looks like and who you're going to reach out to?
So I think the next step, Ralph and the company have done a good job laying out the vision, and I think if we're ready to go forward with an RFQ, I think we would do for an architect engineer to hire them to design, construction documents to that level before you go to bid for construction. That would be the next step. That could have RFQ out and award a contractor probably in 2 to 3 months, and I'm not sure exactly how long their work would take, a year or less, certainly to do that.
And then where's the funding coming from?
Funding for the design, I would think, based on the council's previous intentions, would come from the ARPA funding we have left. Obviously, we're talking about constructing, substantial, performance venues, so that would be part of their process would be determining, or scope of work, determining their cost estimate. Once we have some construction drawings, at that point, there's more conversations we have about construction. We don't have a plan for funding that.
I'm just a little hesitant, given our financial position where we're at within the city right now, to overextend ourselves even further. Given the fact that we're using unrestricted fund balance to pay for our operations. Again, I'm hesitant to extend ourselves out any further. That's a beautiful design, Raphael.
It's just an idea.
But the reality is that we're using unrestricted fund balances to pay for our operations at this point. This council needs to make some serious tough decisions.
And again, to Greg's point, we're talking about using ARPA funds that had been already predetermined for use in the parks, but go ahead, Lou.
That was going to be my question. ARPA is a restricted fund, correct? We couldn't move it around for our unrestricted fund balance, correct?
ARPA can be used for a number of things. There's different restrictions. The most time-sensitive restriction is that all of the ARPA funds need to be obligated, and by that I mean contracts in place by the end of this year.
Yes.
And they need to be expended and reimbursed and complete by the end of 2026. So if the council decided not to spend ARPA funds on this project, you'd have to decide what else you're spending them on. It can be, the initial discussion and the approval from council was to spend the first half, $713,000 on park improvement projects. This was one of them. The other half was dedicated to water and sewer project on River Street.
Right, but it does have to be earmarked for a project. It can't be just used for things like operations or payroll, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
we can get more into this restrictions at another meeting if you'd like to, but.
Scott.
Raphael, just a quick, something like this, what is the upkeep and maintenance of something like this for long-term, or, because the other thing we have to look at is we have, our DPW is short-staffed as it is, and they're gonna be the ones that are gonna have to maintain.
So that was discussed in the task force, and one of the advantages of a limited access venue where at the end of the day, you can close the gates. Hopefully nobody's gonna climb 8 feet to go inside and do damage. It's minimal. From what I envision, it does not need regular upkeep because the theater itself, the light, the technical part of it will be built into the stage. And literally there'll be a switch or a dimmer board in the control room. You flip it, lights go on. They could be in one of those buildings on either side of the stage, the yellow buildings. They could be dressing rooms, they could be storage rooms. I envision one technician being able to turn this on and a couple of people to man the box office on an event day. Now, there's going to be a couple of gates around the back for emergency access. There's going to be a gate for somebody had expressed will the band be able to load in. So I envision as few as necessary gates in the back. So the question is, who's going to man those? Are they, self-protected? Is there a guard? Those are questions that I haven't really grappled with yet. But there'll have to be some presence of somebody's on site during the event days.
Okay. Have we any further questions from council? Raphael, I just want to thank you for all of the effort, and Emily for the artwork. That's nicely enhanced the vision. So again, thank you very much. And with that, we will move on to our boards, commissions, and task force. There are, I don't believe, any questions for those liaisons. You've all seen, I haven't heard of any anyway, you've all seen the minutes of our various boards and commissions and so forth posted, and if anyone does have a question for any of the liaisons relative to any of those meetings, this would be the time. But again, I'm not seeing that, so we'll move on to our committee reports. And with that, Councilmember Lapari Shu, if you could provide us with the details of the Community Wellness Committee.
Okay, I can try. I believe we met not last Monday, the Monday before. It was myself and Luke. We discussed kind of how we want to use the time going forward in the Community Wellness Committee as more of like a working group. We found through many summits and conversations that there is some coordination work that could be beneficial to groups that are...
Can we have a little quiet, please?
There's some coordination that can be beneficial to some groups that are already working in those spaces, so we're going to try to dedicate some of our time to doing some of that coordination work. We discussed a volunteer kind of portal on the website, which we're pretty excited about, and I think we'll work on that a little bit coming up here. We each went away with homework from that, which was good, and then we spent the rest of our time working through a topic to come up with a letter to send to Excelis and WellNow and the State Department of Budget to express concern over the kind of severing of ties of Excelis and WellNow, and help them understand the impact that that has on our community. And I did come away with homework to draft that letter, but it's not complete yet, so I apologize for the delay, but hopefully at the next meeting we should have something to take a look at, so.
And because, if I may, Katie,
No, please,
because it was kind of weird with how New Year's fell, we decided February is a shorter month, so we're going to pick up again in March.
That's right, yeah.
Further, or any questions, comments from council? Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to our Quality of Life and Infrastructure Committee, and its chair, Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. My notes are in the regular council chambers, so But we had our organizational meeting, basically where the mayor did come in and talk and saw some of his vision. And then the council member, I forget who was that?
Me.
I can't
Walsh
see.
Rousseau.
Yes.
I was there.
Was there. We kind of talked at the end with our discussion about what we would like to see about trying to be more proactive within the city. We'd like to ask our department heads as well as other council members to bring any issues within their wards that we might have to handle to come forward so we can be a little bit more proactive and try to get things taken care of. A couple things that I remember off the top of my head with the agenda is that we asked about the speed study. That's actually being done in-house. And Greg gets all the police department goes out and puts up the boxes. There's car counts, there's speed counts, there's a whole mess of data. I believe it was 13 out of 31. 41? Yeah. Have been completed so far, one of them being Chestnut Street. We talked about the median speed, which is like the average speeds and like that. We also talked about the intersection, the curve right there by Nick's Diner. And we have a company that's engineering firm that's looking at that to come up with ideas on how we can make that maybe a better line of sight curve. If you will, because it is hard for some pedestrians to get across and stuff, and with that being an active diner, backing out onto the street is a concern. So we're looking at that. We looked across counts on all over the city on the 13 that we've done. I'll let Greg talk to that if he really wants to, but another thing that we talked about was our handicap parking spots on streets. We kind of, as a group, our DPW director and Gray was for some ways of how to handle it when they get the request, and we told them that they're okay to say no, and then they can come to the quality of life, or they can come to the council, because it's hard to designate a handicap parking spot on a street for a specific person or business because they're open to the public. One spot, we had Faith Team come in from ARC, where they have a Fairview, they have offload some of their residents there that work in the stores. She's going to go look, talk to the landlord of the building to see if they can use, there's like an alley right there that she can maybe use. Going to reach out to maybe like the court or whatever, just see if they can do that. Another one was some type of spot just to make it so you can kind of get your people off and then get them back on. So don't know what you really call that zone. I didn't think of loading unloading zone was the only thing I could come up with off the top of my head, but that's probably not the most appropriate thing to call it. But something like that where it's just a couple minutes so we can get the people off. And then other than that, we just kind of talked about some things that were important to us right there, and environmental is one thing that did come up that we might work with the environmental board on.
Terrific. Thank you. Scott, not bad for off the top of your head. Have we any comments from council or questions? All right. So one of the things that my job allows me to do is to rearrange the agenda, and I feel like I want to do that right now. So I've had a couple of minutes in between things to kind of digest some of our petitioners section of the meeting. And I got to tell you, I get it. You want to have a back and forth. I would too. And when we would be here until midnight before we actually got to the council meeting. So, you can understand why they've never done that and why we honestly really can't do that. But here is what I am going to put out there to everyone. We have a meeting on February 20th, at which point we've already determined that a discussion item of consequence at that meeting will be the discussion of the metrics of success or the challenges that are being faced by the deep street locks. We want that. I don't think there's a single person in this room who does not want that building to be a success. We're way past the idea of should we build it or not. There it is. We want it to be a success. From my perspective, those who are willing to hang out for a while, you're going to see my proposal on a Renaissance program for downtown, which is about taking advantage of the talents, and I do believe there are talents in that D Street Lofts, for the enlivening of our downtown. So we will discuss that on the 20th. But between the 20th and our next council meeting that follows, which is March 5th, we will have a town hall. I don't know where, I don't know when, but we will have a town hall, and it will be something that has structure to it that will allow 20 minutes, let's say, of community input, and maybe a similar amount of time for the addressing of that input, and we will figure out how we can make certain that we have the utmost level of transparency so that we are all satisfied, even if we don't agree, as to what the facts are and what the strategies are and were in the connection and in the potential of the development of that property. So sometime between the council meeting on February 20th and the council meeting on March 5th, we will have a town hall someplace. Okay? And we will give, and it'll be as long as it needs to be, and there will be the ability to have a respectful, is our expectation anyway, dialogue back and forth and get all of the facts as we all see them out on the table, and then we will move on from there. And then the council, as I said before, will vote however it votes. So they represent you, the council does, and quite honestly, looking around this table, we're lucky to have them. So with that, I also...
just one thing, Mark.
Yes.
That week, February 20th, is the high school's off, so a lot of people will be out of town. So just make sure it's after the 25th for your town hall.
Appreciate that, Chris. Chip, sorry, Chip. All right, so that brings me to what I was going to have as the thrust of my remarks. So a few days ago, I received a letter from our chairman of the planning committee, Penny Lappin. And he wrote, "I'm writing to announce my resignation as a member of the city's planning commission effective immediately. My professional obligations at the New York State Department of State involve managing 2 contracts which cover a large geographic area of the city, including downtown Oneonta. Due to concerns over potential conflicts of interest, I cannot carry out the duties of a planning commissioner for what I anticipate are a growing number of projects. I want to thank my fellow commissioners for 6 great years, and I believe that our community is headed in the right direction. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions, comments, or concerns you may have. Kind regards, Danny." And on Friday, this past Friday, I received this from our beloved 8th Ward Council member, Emily Falco. It is with bittersweet emotion that I am ready to formally announce my resignation from the Oneonta City Council, effective February 29th, 2024. Started a new job that is proving it difficult for me to fulfill my role as a council member in both the attendance and participation responsibilities it necessitates. In my commitment to the Oneonta community, the last thing I want to do is compromise the council's ability to make progress by occupying a seat in which I cannot give my utmost energy and dedication. Therefore, I have decided to step down, given this change of life. This has been a very difficult decision. My role on council has been rewarding, and I am grateful for the experience I've been given to serve our community in this manner, and I cherish the relationships I've made over the past 2 years. I'd like to thank you, Mayor Drenick, my fellow council members, both present and past, our city staff, and our citizen volunteers on committees and commissions for your hard work and commitment to making Oneonta the best it can be. I understand firsthand the pressures you face and the rigor it requires to be in your positions. It is a noble undertaking, and you should be proud of all that you do. Lastly, thank you to the people of the 8th Ward who have supported me as your representatives. I hope that I can still be involved in our city's future in some way, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors. Respectfully, Emily. So this is the nature of things. Even the most committed, and certainly that describes both Danny and Emily, will have the nature and structure of those commitments determined and occasionally reimagined by life and by work. As the recipient of their efforts, expertise, creative energies, not to mention their countless hours invested, I want to say on behalf of the entire city of Oneonta, thank you. Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Emily. But know that while we will accept your resignations, I will retain the right to seek out your assistance when the need arises. So watch out for that signal, all right? So this sad news delivered even as we lose two of the most important players in our city government. We continue to have residents step up. They are populating our boards and commissions and filling our work groups and task forces. And with each new addition, each new volunteer, our city is better represented. Our strategies and proposals are more well-informed, and our progress toward the goal we all share of having a city that operates with peak efficiency to provide the services, the safety and security, health and welfare, and quality of life to make Oneonta the ideal place to live and work for us and for future generations becomes an increasing likelihood. To those here and those watching, if you would like to become involved in your city's government, I invite you to reach out to me, mayor@oneonta.ny.us, or just grab me when you see me. So thank you. And with that, we will now move to our approval of warrants. Motion number one, that the Common Council approves the warrants totaling $1,040,369.46, and that the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. Do I have a motion to approve? Katie, followed by Luke. And discussion? None? I'm sorry?
Just the total again.
The total is $1,040,369.46. Further discussion?
Yeah, are we giving those totals to the council this way from here forward? Because I thought last council meeting that was part of our package.
These come, Ginny?
I was not able to get the normal email out today, I apologize, I was balancing the numbers right up until 6 o'clock.
And that's why we're not putting it into the consent agenda. I'm just trying to understand.
We're holding the motion, we're holding the approval of warrants outside of the consent agenda, just for that reason.
Okay, just trying to understand.
And it's not in the consent obviously because the number is not available when the agenda gets written.
That's what I thought when we started this system, so thank you.
Good, all right. Okay, so now without any further discussion, we'll call the vote.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon? Aye. Councilmember Parishu? Aye. Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Falcon? Aye.
All right, and that now brings us to the consent agenda, which I am happy to say I don't need to read. I simply need to take a motion to approve. And so Katie, followed by Emily, and I'm presuming because it's a consent agenda, we're probably not looking at discussion, and so, yes, we do have.
Just one quick thing. I'm excited to see former Councilmember Risberger on here.
That's discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
No comment.
But hold that thought. All right, so if there's no discussion then on the consent agenda, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy? Aye. Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon? Abstain. Councilmember Parishu?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Falcon?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, and to council, I'll remind you the process as we're moving forward, as that does help streamline things a bit. Having a consent agenda that's in fact consent, you'll all be seeing the agenda as close to noon as is possible on Wednesday. I think this Wednesday it got out around 1:15 or 1:20, something like that. And the expectation is that that gives you about 46, 47, maybe even 48 hours to review. If there's an item that you want to pull, please let us know. Please let Greg or I know, both of us know, that you'd like to pull something by noon of Friday. And then we'll move that to the discussion agenda. Okay? All good? Okay. All right, so moving to discussion. Len, did you have something?
No.
No? You certainly
I will in a minute.
Oh, you do want to? You do want to?
No?
Okay. I thought you were going to do it right at the top, but no.
Oh, sorry. We're going to move into the discussion agenda.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to talk about a specific employee.
And do I have a second? I have Katie. And I'm sorry?
I would like to have the mayor, the council, our city administrator, and our Department of Human Resource.
He's not available today, he's not here, so it'll just be Greg. So, boy, I hate to send you guys out into the cold because I had such a great presentation, I don't think I'm gonna see most of you guys.
I'm sorry, and also the fire chief.
Yes, so, council, roll please.
I need the fire chief also.
Councilmember Murphy? Aye. Councilmember Walsh Russo? Aye. Councilmember McHugh? Aye. Councilmember LaParche? Aye. Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Aye.